it's Mrs. Sharpley. Today we're going to review a main idea using the Benjamin Banneker passage. We're going to start by reading the passage, so no matter whether you got questions right or wrong, everybody needs to reread the passage with me. Of course, by looking at the passage, we already have an idea that the passage is going to be about Benjamin Banneker, whoever he happens to be. Although when I look at my picture here, and of course we can use our title and our pictures to help us determine that main idea, and it says Benjamin Banneker City Planner. So I'm already starting to have some ideas that Benjamin Banneker has some kind of job where he helps plan the city. So maybe it's the development of where the buildings are or something like that. It says Benjamin Banneker's knowledge of astronomy and surveying were helpful to the team who planned our nation's capital. So it says here that this is Washington, D.C. So he may have had a really large role in where all the buildings went in Washington, D.C. But that's just my thoughts and predictions. All right, so now looking at our passage, I'll read, you follow along, please. Tick-tock, the clock worked, ding, ding. When the hands marked the hour, it chimed. Benjamin Banneker had made the clock all by himself. That is a wonderful clock, said a man who lived near the Banneker farm. I really think that is the first chiming clock that anyone has ever made in America. How did you learn to make it? All right, so in thinking about that passage, of course, I like to hashtag as many passages or paragraphs as I can. I'm kind of thinking that he's done something with a clock. So when I think about my topic, my one word, I think clock. But what about clocks? And Benjamin Banneker is, I'm assuming, well, actually, no, it says Benjamin Banneker had made the clock. So he has made a clock and somebody else seemed impressed by this. So I'm going to go ahead and hashtag this. I'm going to call BB for Benjamin Banneker. BB makes clock. Okay. All right, on to my next paragraph. And of course, if you need to pause at any point, you can do that. It says, what could young Benjamin Banneker say? He had not learned how to make it from anyone. He had figured it out for himself. Looking at how clocks worked, thinking about what kinds of gears and wheels were needed, then he had made the gears and wheels for himself. And after that, he had fitted them together. First this way, then that way, over and over, until at last they moved back and forth as they should. Tick-tock, tick-tock, ding. All right, so thinking about that paragraph, the last paragraph had asked, how did you learn to make it? And of course, this paragraph kind of answers that question, that nobody taught him how. So he kind of taught himself by trying this and that until finally he got it right. So I'm going to go ahead and hashtag this, that BB taught, and then I'll do himself underneath. BB taught himself. All right. On to our next paragraph. It says, you are a remarkable young man, said the neighbor. Have you gone to school at all? Yes, Benjamin had been lucky. He had learned to read and write. But then he had read all the books in the school. He could not find any more books to read anywhere. He wanted to study. He wanted to learn more, but he couldn't. So he worked on his father's farm. But even though he had to work hard with his hands, he would not give up and stop using his mind. He figured out ways to improve the farm tools. He figured out ways to do many things better than they had been done before. Then he went to work on the clock and made it work. A young man like you deserves help, said the neighbor. What can I do to help you? All right, so I'm liking this Benjamin Banneker. He is loving to learn. He obviously likes to read, but he's reached a point in his life, it sounds like, where he is wanting to learn more, but he's having a hard time finding new books and things like that. But this neighbor is saying that he can help him out, well, wants to help him out, but until then, he's been helping on the farm. So I'm going to go ahead and hashtag this, loves to learn, but works on farm. Loves to learn, but works on farm. All right, on to my next passage, my next paragraph. It says, could you lend me books to read? Asked Benjamin Banneker. The neighbor could lend him books and did. They were hard books about mathematics and surveying land and astronomy. But Benjamin Banneker read them all and learned everything in them. He learned how to do the hardest problems. He learned about the stars and the heavens. And he learned how to survey land. The neighbor was so impressed by what Benjamin Banneker had learned that he talked to Thomas Jefferson, the man who had written the Declaration of Independence. The war was over by this time, and Jefferson and George Washington and many others working to build a new nation of the United States. Thomas Jefferson thought of how the brilliant Benjamin Banneker could help. Then Jefferson asked Banneker to join the men who were surveying land for the new capital city of Washington, D.C. So Benjamin Banneker traveled to Washington and helped to lay out and plan the city. Wow. All right. So it sounds like Benjamin Banneker learned a lot through this reading, and the neighbor ended up being so impressed that he ended up going to some other important people, and then Benjamin Banneker ended up helping develop Washington, D.C. the way I had predicted. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hashtag this one. It's kind of a longer paragraph, so my hashtag's going to need to be a little bit longer to kind of cover it all. But I know that Benjamin Banneker, he read and learned, so he learned more, and then important people asked for his help. So let's say that Benjamin Banneker learned more and was asked, ooh, my pen is getting light, asked to, asked to help plan, I'll do Washington with a W and then D.C. Okay. All right, and then we have just a little bit left. Here it says, today, when we visit Washington, D.C., we can remember a boy who would not give up, who made a clock when he had no books to read, Benjamin Banneker. So basically today when we visit Washington, D.C., we can kind of remember that he was someone who would try and never give up, because he kind of put things together until he was able to make a clock and all by himself and kind of taught himself. So I'm going to go ahead and hashtag this, BB never gave up. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and go to the next step so you can put your answer in. And whenever, for number one, and whenever you put your answer in, if you end up getting it incorrect, then I'm going to go over that question with you. If you put in all your questions and you get all of them right, you won't get any videos. And if you end up getting some wrong, then it's not a big deal, but we want to learn from those mistakes together. All righty.